Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Fringlish here with Forgotten Games, and welcome to today's episode of Exploring Westeros. Today we'll be looking at Harrenhal. Of Harrenhal, Tywin Lannister had this to say. Harren the Black thought this castle would be his legacy, the greatest fortress ever built, the tallest towers, the strongest walls. The Great Hall had 35 hearths. 35, can you imagine? Look at it now, a blasted ruin. And that sums up Harrenhal quite well, as Harrenhal itself is a huge castle, the largest one in all of Westeros, though it is also the most ill-omened. It is located on the northern side of the God's Eye Lake, at the heart of the Riverlands, south of the River Trident, and northwest of King's Landing. Unfortunately for Harrenhal, it's not on any major road or river network, making it somewhat difficult to get to, and not a hub of trade. Harrenhal dates back to the times when the Riverlands were under the thrall of the Ironborn. House Horer, king of the Iron Isles and the Rivers, originally had a modest tower house at Fairmarket on the Blue Fork. His son, Harren the Black, built Harrenhal along the God's Eye as a monument to himself, intending it to be the greatest of all castles in Westeros and for it to dwarf all others. This was probably also a move to control the rowdy Riverland population, who chafed under the rule of the Ironborn. The construction of Harren's Dream, often called Harren's Folly, took 40 years. Thousands of captives died in the quarries chained to sledges or labouring on the 5 huge towers. Upon its completion, Harren boasted that his new fortress was impregnable. However, he did not account for Aegon the Conqueror and his dragons invading Westeros. On the day Harren took up residence, Aegon came ashore at what would become King's Landing. The dragons were not obstructed by high walls, foreboding towers, and roasted Harren and his sons alive in the tallest of towers, now known as King's Pyre. Harren and all his line perished in the burning of Harrenhal. Due to the extreme heat of dragon flame, the castle took on a charred, melted appearance, and it retains such to this day. Since Aegon's conquest, the castle has become a white elephant. It is too big to garrison effectively and too expensive to maintain. Harren allegedly mixed human blood into the mortar for the stonework. Some believe that the castle was cursed and haunted due to Harren's hubris, and the horrors that have occurred within the castle walls with the early deaths of many of its rulers are proof. The curse is thought to prevent any lord from holding Harrenhal indefinitely. According to a semi-canon source, Harrenhal is immensely strong. The castle has 5 towers of dizzying size, with equally monstrous curtain walls. The walls themselves are incredibly thick, and its rooms are built on a scale that would be more comfortable for giants than humans. Harrenhal has the largest chambers in Westeros, larger than the Red Keep's throne room. The Crown chose it as the location of the first Great Council because it did not know how many would attend, and wanted a hall for at least 500 lords. More than 1,000 attended. The castle covers 3 times as much ground as Winterfell, and its buildings are so large they can scarcely be compared. Its stables holds over 1,000 horses, and its godwood, which is walled, covers 20 acres. To put that in perspective, Windsor Castle, one of the biggest castles in the UK, covers about 13. So the walled godswood, which is part of the castle, is about twice the size of the biggest castle in the UK. However, much of Harrenhal has gone far into decay. The Wents were only using the lower 2/3 of the 5 towers, letting the rest go to ruin, and many places in the castle have not been entered in decades. If we look at the 2 years before the end of the War of the 5 Kings, 9 people held the castle. All of them came to a rather sticky end. Sheila Went, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances, Janice Slint, who was sent to the Wall, Tywin Lannister, who was killed on the toilet, Amory Lorch, who was fed to a bear, Roose Bolton, who was killed by his son, Peter Baelish, who got his throat slit, Vargo Hoat, who was tortured to death in Harrenhal by Gregor Clegane, who then died of a poisoned spear, Pollivar, who was then killed by Sandor Clegane, and then Bonifer Hasty, who was named Castellan by Jaime Lannister. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but looking at the track record, he's probably dead. At the start of the War of the 5 Kings, House Went controlled Harrenhal. House Went was a vassal house of the Riverlands that held fealty to House Tully of Riverrun, Their heraldry consists of 9 black bats over a gold field. Their words are unknown, but their heraldry is apparently derived from the previous holders of Harrenhal, as Howth Lothstone's heraldry was a single black bat over a field diagonally divided between gold and silver. The only time we see a man-at-arms or anything resembling troops from House Went itself is when Catelyn Stark notes a knight bearing the sigil of House Went at the Crossroads Inn. She asks him if Lady Went remains a strong vassal house of her father. When he replies this is so, she recruits him to help in her arrest of Tyrion Lannister. The castle of Harrenhal is built on a gigantic scale. There's nothing in Westeros that compares. Its curtain walls are sheer and high as mountain cliffs, while atop the battlements the wooden iron scorpions seem as small as their namesakes from the ground. Harrenhal's gatehouse is as large as Winterfell's Great Keep, and its stone is discoloured and fissured. From the outside the gatehouse, only the top 5 immense towers can be seen because the height of the walls obscure the view of them. Of the castle's 5 towers, the shortest is half again as high as the tallest one in Winterfell, yet none of the towers are proper, being bent, lumped and cracked from the melting of the stone during the burning of Harrenhal by the Targaryen dragons during the conquest. The 5 towers are known as the Tower of the Dread, which is near the Middle Bailey and the Mews, the Widow's Tower, connected to the Kingspire Tower via a stone bridge, underneath which there is a cell used to keep prisoners, the Wailing Tower, consisting of storerooms on the ground floor and cavernous vaults beneath, the Tower of Ghosts near the postern gate and the ruined sept, and the Kingspire Tower, containing the castellan chambers. It connects to the Widow's Tower via a stone bridge. Harrenhal has 2 known gates. The main gate, that has walls so thick that no less than a dozen murder holes are passed before one reaches the yard on the other side, and the eastern gate, which is located near the Tower of Ghosts. This is the gate that Gendry, Arya and Hot Pie sneak through with the aid of the Faceless Man in the TV show. The Godswood itself is notable for being over 20 acres, but also because at its centre there is a weirwood tree with a twisted mouth and flaring eyes. The heart tree has 13 deep marks carved into it, dating to the battle above the God's Eye in 130 AC, during the Dance of Dragons. These marks supposedly still bleed every spring, enhancing Harrenhal's insidious reputation. In the game, Harrenhal's model is fairly similar to what we hear in the books and the show. It is missing a couple of very key buildings, such as the extremely large Godswood and the stables that can hold over 1,000 horses, but we can clearly notice the 5 towers, as well as the Widow's Tower and the Kingspire Tower, which are connected via a stone bridge. Down right at the front, past the first gate, we see what seems to be a very upscaled version of the Bear Pit. Brienne of Tarth was thrown into the Bear Pit, only to be saved by Jaime Lannister, to the tune of A Bear, the Bear, and the Maiden Fair. We can also see 2 distinct gates in Harrenhal, making Harrenhal one of the closest castles, graphically at least, to the books and the shows.